What up is Marcus Dynasty Football Dads, and if you're new to the channel, we did running back analytics for Dynasty Fantasy Football. This is the second half. This is the wide receiver average draft position. If you picked somebody in the first round, what are you expecting? What are your chances of having a bust? This is one of the most important videos that I do in this right before draft time here. We have running backs, we have wide receivers, and then we're going to compare and settle the debate. What is better to draft, a running back or wide receiver? If you literally did not know even names, you just drafted by position, what are your chances? This is so important. We're going to do wide receivers first here. And so wide receivers, the first thing if you didn't watch yesterday's video, please go watch yesterday's video. But wide receivers, we're going to break down into three categories. We have round one. This is average draft position in Dynasty Fantasy Football. This is not round one in the NFL draft. Then we have round two and round three. So we're going to separate them in rounds. And then we have top 12, top 24, and top 36 wide receiver. So you get the gist. Wide receiver one, wide receiver two, wide receiver three is what we're going to be talking about. So round one running backs. And I already said it wrong because that was yesterday's video. Round one wide receivers. This is a cut. All right. We have 39 again. And 23% of wide receivers will become a wide receiver one. So if we think of Jamar Chase, I think we think even of Justin Jefferson, and we've been spoiled because 23% is 1 out of 4. A lot more times you're going to end up getting even, we'll talk about CeeDee Lamb a little bit, but even you're going to end up getting, like, you could get Jalen Reagor, which you could have J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, you could have Henry Ruggs, you could have all these different bad wide receivers as well, but 23% end up becoming wide receiver ones in their career. 9 of 39. So that's your chances. 1 out of 4. Now, if we move that threshold down to wide receiver 2, so top 24 in their career at one point, you have 44%, which I think semi-surprises me, but wide receiver is a position that does bust a lot up high. We even talk about like the N'Keal Harrys. We look at that draft. And even wide receivers, like A.J. Brown has been a wide receiver one, but what's Marquise Brown? He's been a roller coaster. I mean, you look at a bunch of different wide receivers that were drafted into that round one. DK Metcalf has been super good at points of his career. And these are guys that, some of these guys are into these percentages as well. We constantly think of Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson. And I've even talked to people where they are refusing to want to trade a high pick because they think Garrett Wilson's going to be the next one of those two. Or Treylon Burks or Drake London. They think one of those three players are going to be up into this Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson category. The chances are not good. I mean, they really aren't. So let's just say wide receiver 3, top 36, which I think top 36 wide receiver shouldn't be very hard to get from a wide receiver 1, unless your name's N'Keal Harry. Or J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, or Henry Ruggs, or Jalen Reagor, and you can just, the list goes on and on. But 56%, so we'll just say, if you round down, that's half. Half the wide receivers are going to be a bust. And this is a position that is supposed to be safer than running backs, quote unquote. It's supposed to be a more longevity driven one, where you have these wide receivers that, wide receiver 3, you might get like a Devontae Parker. Like, how frustrating would that be? You get a Devontae Parker where he's bad, and he's been on probably, he was on probably like 5-6 different Dynasty Fantasy Football teams, at least in one of our leagues. And one guy held on to him for like 3 years, and then he becomes something. Like, so half of the players, or maybe Laquan Treadwell ends up becoming something next year, and he ends up being part of this 56 down up to 58%. It's frustrating to see some of these players bust, and some of these players, and this is only 56%. You even get some of these like Zay Jones and stuff like that, the players that still have not performed at wide receiver 3 levels. So that is something that we do need to talk about, because round 2, we're going to start drifting even further. Round 2, wide receivers that were drafted, 5 of the 37 ended up becoming wide receiver 1s. So we get into round 2, and it starts to get even a little bit more fuzzy. We start to have even more, we go from 23 to 14% chance. 5 out of 37 is not good odds. So let's just go down to wide receiver 2 as a threshold. We start probably getting into these like Chase Claypools. In this upcoming draft, we might be talking about Christian Watson, which is a very similar prospect, or a Sky Moore, or a Jahan Dotson maybe sneaks in there. So 11 of 37, so 30% chance. 3 out of 10. whatever you want to think of, 1.5 out of 5. 3 out of 10 is easier to think about. 3 out of 10 chance that you're going to have a successful wide receiver at some point in their career from the last 7 drafts. I should say that this is the last 7 drafts. And 7 out of 10 chance that they're actually not going to become a wide receiver 2 or better, which is very disappointing. But let's go to wide receiver 3 because it's got to be much better, right? Because top 36, there's got to be a lot of wide receivers that have had good hot stretches, right? 14 out of 37, which is 38% chance, right around that, we rounded, 38% chance. And so really 62, yeah, if I can do the math right, 62% chance of having a wide receiver not be top 36. Not good. No bueno, as they say. Not good at all. So let's go to wide receiver. Let's go to round 3 because we saw running backs in round 3. Well, I'm not gonna spoil it for you. We knew what the stats were. 8% chance of having a wide receiver 1, which is not that much for. I mean, you go from 23 to 14 to 8. It's a little bit down. 11% chance of wide receiver 2 and 14% to have a wide receiver 3. So really, you're cutting it in half again. You really are. So it seems like, and we can go even through some of the stats, it seems like some of the studs stay studs, and you really get, if you get a wide receiver 1, like a Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, they stay as their kind of total wide receiver 1 seasons as well. So the biggest thing I took out of this too, well, I don't even want to spoil tomorrow's video for you, because I guess we'll go through more in-depth analytics on what this means and stuff as well. But my biggest thing is wide receivers are just, like, I think we think of these amazing performers the last couple of years. We're going to have a lot more players in the next couple drafts end up being more like DK Metcalfs or end up being more like Marquise Browns, where they're not great. They're not bad. They're good in stretches. They have wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 seasons. Even, like, think DJ Moore, Terry McLaurin. Like, you're going to have probably more of these types of players. In fact, I compared Garrett Wilson to Terry McLaurin. I know they're both Ohio State guys, but whatever. I feel like you're going to have a lot more of these wide receiver 2s and wide receiver 3s, which may be disappointing to some owners if they expect to have the next top 5 wide receiver. But really, I see Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson being definitely studs. I can see Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle kind of continuing to be wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1 potential as well. And we're going to have a lot of those players still along with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill and maybe even A.J. Brown. And you're going to have a concrete top 10 wide receiver group that I don't think there's going to be much wiggle room to get some of these rookies in 2022, 2023. So if you're looking at wide receivers, especially in round 1, I am okay trading. I traded 2 first-round picks for Devontae Smith. Yes. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I was associated with the deal. I traded that because I think Devontae Smith has the chance of being wide receiver 1. The Eagles could draft another wide receiver, and that could just be annoying. But I've also done it in a different league where I traded a top first for Jalen Waddle because Tyreek Hill went there, and I said, hey, I'll trade you 103 for Jalen Waddle. And in a split decision, they said yes. I was like, okay, like Jalen Waddle has so much better potential in my mind and has shown the talent. Versus you still have Garrett Wilson and you still have Treylon Burks and Drake London, which are ifs and maybes and could be's and lots of different things that could happen. But this is the time, not this is the time, I should say, right before draft time is the time, or right after the NFL draft, because the draft is going to be buzzing, is the time to start trading some of these picks, unless you can get some major value now, because players are going to start seeing these players, Drake London going to Buffalo or going to Green Bay, and you're going to see Treylon Burks going to Kansas City, and you're going to start seeing these names, and it's going to look so tempting. But don't do it. Start actually looking at your roster, and you say, hey, I need DJ Moore. I need Terry McLaurin. Like, especially if you're more into that contending mode, this is a perfect time coming up to start trading those picks away. Tomorrow, we're going to be going through the most important of the 3 videos. It's going to be comparing running backs versus wide receivers. All right, this is Marcus Dynasty Dads. Peace out. Take care. We'll see you tomorrow.
Now turn up.